you guys know who I am, some of you don't. My name is DeSousa, and I'm the founder of Citizens Against Eversource. And who here has been flabbergasted recently at their energy bills? Is there anybody who's absolutely satisfied with them? And so, like I said, there's a reason for that. And you know, if you look at the group Citizens Against Eversource, initially when I started this campaign, against the powers that be, or whatever makes our prices higher, I thought it was Eversource. And you know, I went down a rabbit hole to further come to understand that Eversource is a monopoly, along with 3 other investor-owned utilities in this state, which are Umatilla, Liberty Utilities, and National Grid. So what ends up happening is they're allowed to be a monopoly, and with that comes some hyper-regulation. And this hyper-regulation is supposed to be the checks and balances that keeps our prices affordable. That regulation is made by the DPU, the Department of Public Utilities. Unfortunately, their main prospectus is supposed to be public interest, but unfortunately, they haven't been following that creed. They instead have been following the commands of the legislature and completely shunting, you know, any responsibility and with affordability to the public. Now, why is that? Well, that's because that's how the system works. The legislature, Maura Healey, the current legislature, makes law and it gets passed down the pipe. It goes to the DPU and their lawyers. There's lawyers look over, they create regimens and procedures. They then send it to the utility companies. They overview it, they look it through. They create plans based on those requirements, and then they proceed to send it back to the DPU that then rubber stamp it, because there's an entrenched relationship there where you help us, we'll help you. It's a way for the legislature and the governor to tax us without officially taxing us through these state mandated fees. Now, you know, we know that in a 2-party system, which is what we have, ultimately for it to work properly, balance is needed within this system. Whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, we can both agree that when there's a checks and balances system, this system more so represents the people, because they're vying back and forth for the monies, and the money's for the people within their districts, and there's gonna be a buffer. But without the buffer of that balance effect within the legislature, there's what I like to call the runaway train effect. And this is an ideological runaway train. Now, their hearts are in the right place. And when I say that, I'm referring to alternative energy. Now, when it comes to alternative energy, I'm sure we can all agree that we love clean air, we love having the environment, we love having greenery, we love having an environment that our kids can grow up in and appreciate. And we all agree with that. But are we willing to sacrifice our financial sovereignty to do it? That's the question, right? You know, in order to heat our homes, do we have to lose our homes in the process? You know, we would like to have homes to heat in this situation. And so this has been allowed to go at this rate because of the disparity within the legislature. And we know how it works within politics. If you have a D in front of your name, or if you ever are in front of your name, if you don't vote with the clan or the crew, then ultimately you get blackballed within the parties, and your bills don't go through, you don't get money, you don't get campaign financing, and etc. And so we need to work on bringing balance back to the legislature. That's going to be one of the first steps, you know, within the solution. Now, we do, like I said, we do believe, of course, in green energy and alternative energy. Now, we just had a situation recently in Spain and Portugal. They just had one of the most catastrophic, you know, blackouts, you know, that they've had, you know, in their inception. And Spain just became fully net zero about 15 days ago, now April 15th. And they just had this blackout. And why did this blackout happen? And I'm speaking to some of the more, you know, left-leaning counterparts within the room, because I just wanted to explain that it's not that wind and solar are bad forms of energy, is that when you fully rely on them, they're intermittent forms of energy, where if there's like a decrease within the grid, a huge decrease, they can't make up for it because they're dependent on weather to create that energy. Those battery systems, those lithium battery systems, they're only good for about 4 hours, which only holds a certain amount of energy. So if we have nuclear and we have liquid natural gas, it's a flick of the switch. Hey, we have a problem in the grid. Flick the switch, boom, problem made up. Now in this state, we know that we've had some pipelines blocked, right? And we've had some nuclear power plants that have since been decommissioned. because of some concerns. But sometimes you have a great dish, but if even one of those ingredients within that dish is off, it doesn't make for a good recipe. So it's not that alternative energy is a bad dish. It's that the recipe needs to be recalibrated. And so what we need to do is move towards a system that's more balanced. We need to create energy choice. We need to bring back these other energy sources that are reasonably clean, like liquid natural gas and nuclear. There are some new technologies within nuclear that we've been exploring, and other countries have explored them. And so our initiative is an energy choice initiative where we bring the choice back to Massachusetts citizens and residents. We should be able to pick what we want in our homes. You want solar? You pay for it. You don't want solar? You want to put oil? Fine. Because at the end of the day, we don't want the government in our pockets telling us how to run our lives. We want freedom.
That's right.
And when we open up the market with this freedom, with this energetic choice, it's going to create a competitive market. And we know competitive markets create affordability. And that's what we want, okay? So that's the message I'd like to spread out to Democrats and Republicans alike. It's about energy choice and diversifying the energy sector, because a monopoly on energy only works for the people in control at that time. And we want to put the power back in the people's hands. And, speaking of putting the power back in the people's hands, we just had Diana DeSousa here, and, one of our initiatives and one of our solutions, as far as getting that energy choice back, is going to be a ballot initiative. There are several ways we can go about it. Of course, there's a paywall when it comes to any sort of legal precedences. And so we've actually just had a ballot initiative attorney reach out to us today within this conference. I don't want to out them, but we're very thankful for them. And like I said, it's just, goes to show that there are solutions out there, but we need to stand together. And so for this ballot initiative, we're going to need your support. And that's going to be Democrat or Republican alike, because we all agree that our children deserve to have affordable energy. Energy is a right, and it's the doorway to prosperity for a lot of us, whether it's our cars or our homes or our level of comfort that we've grown so accustomed to in this nation that has been set to sponsor Manifest Destiny. And so, can I count on you guys for your support when it comes to our ballot initiative and helping us push it through so that we can make sure we get the proper signatures and get this in the books so we can have freedom again. Like I said, I'm going to heed to my counterparts here. Thank you guys so much.